In this lecture, I will cover finding system information using two commands, uname and dmidecode. There are many ways, there are many commands you can use to find system information. However, these two commands are very useful as well. So in case you needed to find information about your current system, these are the commands you can use, and we will use them with a couple of options so you can have a better idea. For example, you can use the uname command to show the information about your current system, and you can use many options. For example, you can use -s option to see the kernel name. You can see many other options to see the kernel release. You can also see the hardware platform. You can also see the kernel version. You can also get more information by using different options when using the uname command. So let me bring up the terminal and let's run some of these so you can have an idea how to find information about your current system. So now I'm going to run uname. So you can run uname command, and then this time we will use the option S. So -s, hit enter. So this command, it will print out the name of your kernel, what kernel you are currently using. We are using Linux, so that's how you can display that. So let's say you just log on to a system, you're a new administrator, and you just got a bunch of passwords and everything. You can log on to each server and see what your system is about from your, for example, your kernel name. You can also run -n option. So -n option tells you your host name or the node name. So basically, in this case, our node name is called test. That's the server name. To find out some more information, let's say if we run it with -r option. This is the release, your kernel release. So this whole thing is your kernel release. The release name, EL7, that stands for Enterprise Level 7. This is your architecture. So you can get a lot more information. If you wanted to get all information, you can just type in uname -a. Run uname -a command, and it will tell you what kind of Linux distro you're running, or if you are running Linux, it will also tell you what your host name is, the current kernel release, the date of the release, the architecture, etc., etc. So all this information you can find by running uname -a command. And you can also find all these commands by using man. So let's say you don't have access to your notes and you don't remember all the options, and you wanted to find more information about your system by running the uname command. You can just do man and uname. So if you do man and uname, it will start showing you. See, right here it says -a. That prints out all information. So everything that you want to know about your system is -a. And as you can see, -s prints the kernel name. Let me scroll down a little bit. So -n, the option we just used, it shows you the node name, also known as the host name. That's your host name. So -r will show you the kernel release. -v will print the kernel version. -m will print your architecture. So these are some of the options. They're very useful options that you can use with the uname command. So let me quit out of that. There's also another file on most of the Linux systems which you can use. You can also do cat etc os release. In most Linux distros you will find this file cat. You can cat it. It's under etc os release. So it will give you a lot of information about your operating system or your distro. For example, it will show you the name. It's CentOS. It's Linux 7 core, like RHEL, Fedora, CentOS. So a lot of information you can see in this file as well. And this document will be included as well as a PDF, so you can follow these and learn from these options as well. And you can also do man and find out more information about uname and run those commands to see what it gives you. Let's move on to dmidecode. dmidecode is a tool for dumping a computer's DMI. What is DMI? DMI stands for Desktop Management Interface, also known as SMBIOS. Now, it shows table contents in a human readable format. SMBIOS stands for System Management BIOS. DMI table contains a description of system's hardware components. So if you wanted to find more information about your system and your system's hardware components, this is a very useful tool you can use to find about, for example, your BIOS, your serial numbers, your hardware information. And one thing you may want to remember is if you're using a virtual machine, some of that information comes from the hosted system that you're using, for example, VMware or VirtualBox. So some of the system information may not be available because it's coming from your virtual machine and it's a VM. But a lot of information you can still find by running this command. And if it's a regular physical server, then you will find a whole lot of information about your hardware, your BIOS, and your serial numbers when you run this command. To run this command, you can just type in dmidecode, but it may show you a lot of information, so you may want to pipe it with more. So there's a couple of options you can also use. So let me show you it through the terminal. So this is what you will see. For example, when you run dmidecode, it will show you a lot of information. So BIOS, system, baseboard, chassis. And this is just an example of what you can see by running this command. So all these options you can find information about by running this command. So let me bring up the terminal. Let's run some of these and see what we can find. So the command is dmidecode. I'm going to pipe it with more because it's going to be a lot of information. It may not fit on one page, so we'll see one page at a time. So for example, right here it's showing us right on top SM BIOS 2.5 present. Then it's showing us the BIOS information, and a lot of information is listed in here, ROM size, etc. So if I keep scrolling down, it will keep on showing a lot of information. And again, this is just a VM created on VirtualBox, so it's not going to have that much information if it was an actual physical server. But let me clear the screen. There's also something else we can use. We can use some options. For example, if we wanted to just find information about our BIOS, then we can run dmidecode with -t option. And for example, as you can see on the presentation below, there's a number assigned to BIOS. So it's 0. If I type in 0, it will only show information about BIOS. And this is how you can, if you wanted to just find information about your system BIOS, you can just run it with 0 and it will show you just that. Or we can run it by using 1 and it will show us the system information. So if I hit 1, this is the system information. So if I wanted to find some other information, for example, the processor, then I can use the option 4, hit enter, and it'll show us the information about the processor. Currently, it's not showing it because, again, it's a virtual machine and some of the information it does not display. So that's how you can use this command. You can also do man on dmidecode, hit enter, and you can find a lot more information in here, a lot more options you can use in case you're looking for something and you wanted to check real quick on dmidecode to find something about your hardware. You can run man on dmidecode and go to options and start looking for what options you can use. For example, -t is for type. This is what we used. So there are many options like that you will find by running dmidecode and also doing man on dmidecode to see what other options you can run. If you're in a hurry and you want to find something about your hardware, you can quickly run man on dmidecode and run some of the commands. But again, if you just wanted to find specific information, you can run dmidecode with -t option like we just did. Let me get out of man pages. So just like that, dmidecode -t, and then you can choose a specific field that you're looking for. So again, for example, 0, that's the BIOS information, and that's how you can run this command. I hope you learned something useful in this lecture as well, and I'll see you in the next one.